everybody, and welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. I am confident that this pick from Scott was just to see how hard it would take for me to say the name of the movie on the podcast. Paganini Horror is what I'm going with.
God, yeah. Literally last week when no, it was like a couple days ago. I think I phonetically spelled it out for you, didn't I?
Probably. You're just lucky I didn't say Panini Horror.
They say it a couple times.
They do.
Paganini.
Matt.
Paganini.
Matt, so if Matt says it wrong, we know he did not edit himself saying it.
Oh, no.
I mean, he does not. If you do hear Matt saying it wrong, it's that he did not edit the show so that he sounds smarter, that's
on
big
par.
energy.
I mean, listen, I literally let myself sound the dumbest of the three of us.
That's hard.
Policy.
I try to protect you two way more than I try to protect me.
Don't be you're a martyr for the pod.
So, Scott, I mean, part of me is going to say, why did you pick this movie? But I feel like the entire experience of watching it answered the question of why Scott would pick this movie, because this is a very Scott movie for sure.
Yeah. Also,
Despite
this
its
is a one and done
Italianness.
for me.
Oh, listen, while we were waiting in the back, like each of us kind of slowly makes our way into the room when it's getting time to record. Kyle and I both had a very brief conversation about how little notes we actually have, but how when you're watching Italian horror, you don't really need to write down anything. It's not like there's major plot beats that you're trying to log for memory.
No. Most of my notes for this are just kind of more trivia based. I don't even know if it would be considered trivia.
Well, when you mentioned that, so this is one of the rare times where I didn't do any research. I did zero research. I let the research fall on you because you had told us that you had already done some. There is one thing that I need to call out. I need to call it out right the fuck now. Because I've been thinking, I almost texted you guys about this. And I said, no, save it for the show. Are we all in agreement that the first song that you hear this band play is just "You Give Love a Bad Name" by Bon Jovi with different lyrics?
That's the only note I've written.
I thought it was living on a prayer.
I don't know. I think it's like, but I'm thinking the vocal melody, like the.
Well, this is
because I think that they're singing. It's like ba da 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 ba da 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 ba da ba da ba ba da ba ba da da ba.
Chorus wise, it's Matt, but I'm agreeing with the bass drive that you're talking about. Scott is now I'm like, yes, but the chorus is what gave it away for Bon Jovi for me.
Well, I knew it was Bon Jovi, which one way or the other. I just wasn't sure which one it was.
I was blown away by how egregious it was. I was like,
you know what?
I
thought you were talking about living on the
edge.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about living on the edge.
Oh,
right,
you're living.
I was like, that's
you're
wrong.
living on the
No.
Yeah.
It's
we didn't
Jovi.
watch Brain Scan.
It's
just not a second time.
It's pretty much just all of "Slippery When Wet" in one song is what they managed to do.
So that's interpolation.
Yeah.
And so it's fine, but I was trying to come up with a funny quip for what the band name could be, because it was like I was trying to do some sort of joke about Bon Jovi, and I got like maybe Jan Jovi, but that's as close as I got. Anchovy! Fuck!
And Joey, you did it. You did it live.
Yeah,
Scott.
it's a spicy meatball.
Where do you think anchovies are coming from? Pay for our Patreon, and you'll see me doing the Italian yum hand.
The yum hands. The yum. I've never heard it called that.
Megan called it the Italian yum hand the first summer we were together, and it has stuck. So
that's incredible work. I'm gonna steal that.
But
sure.
Scott.
Please.
So to go back to the original question though, what made you decide now was the time for Panini Horror?
Panini Horror. Gotta watch it for the cover. That's what we need to put on a shirt. Watch it for the cover.
Yeah.
That is what.
That's
what I'm doing now. That is my 2023 resolution. Is, I don't give a fuck about where it came from, if it's any good. It's just, if the cover is sick and I've never seen it before, I'm probably gonna make you guys suffer with me.
Right.
And this movie is absolutely egregious. Like Matt used that word. It's a perfect word for this movie, as well as the song at the beginning. This movie sucks. And I think that the only people that will get any enjoyment out of it are people like me, and I don't want to put you two guys in on this unless you put yourselves there. But I feel like the people that will appreciate a movie like Paganini Horror are the people that love 80s horror so much that the nostalgia hits more the shittier it is.
Yeah,
so
it's
fair
an
warning
interest
for listeners.
This was an interesting watch because also, like, you know, it's very clearly an Italian movie within the first 30 seconds of hitting play. You're like, okay, I know what this is. But I think what's kind of the for lack of a better word, the blue balls that you get while watching this movie is that it's really tame on what you anticipate in an Italian horror movie. Like, none of the gore or the kills are absurd enough. Like, nothing is like over the top.
Well, I can tell you why that happened. Let Kyle talk, and then I'll I did research.
So the only thing I wanted to say was one, well, a couple things actually. One, Luigi Cozzi wrote this, who is like a schlock master in Italian cinema, and we interviewed him for Survival of the Film Freaks.
Nice.
So quick plug there. And he actually has, I think he has a documentary about himself coming out soon, which is he's wild.
So Italian directed.
Yeah,
you know?
He's incredible. But the other thing, I was going to buy the Bon Jovi has a rosé called Hampton Water. And
Fuck,
I was
that would
like,
have been amazing.
I was gonna buy it, but it was $22, and I was like, no, I was just no. But what I did get in place of that was Purple Rain, which is a ginger blueberry hard apple cider.
Nice.
Prince is better than anything that's happening here. They both start with P.
There you go.
They're both in the 80s.
And I have a little something.
What do you got?
I have Aperol, which is an Italian aperitif, and it tastes like garbage, but you forget, and then you're like, some Aperol.
Yeah.
Well, it's
no
not very
spritz,
good.
just Aperol.
I don't have any spritz in the house, or else I would have done it. But yeah, I mean,
You're
Aperol's actually not that bad.
You're a hard man, Scott.
It's kind of like bitters and like fruit punch.
Yeah.
If listeners know
That's
what
actually
I mean,
that's a very good.
you know, it's like, and also I tried this beer from Voodoo Ranger. That's what they're called, right? Or the company that makes Voodoo Ranger.
I know exactly the one you're talking about. Yep.
But I was at Whole Foods like last week. It was 8:10 in the morning, and I decide that I see this end cap of this Voodoo Ranger fruit punch IPA, Imperial IPA, and I'm like, sure, why don't I buy this at 8:10 in the morning on a Wednesday? And so I did, and a woman came up and checked my ID. I'm like, don't worry, I'm not going to drink this until tonight. But I took a sip, and it really does taste, it's not a bad beer, but it really does taste like fruit punch, and it got me thinking, like, what does fruit punch taste like? Is it apple and cherry? Is it apple, cherry, orange?
Here's my quick answer to that, because Wawa discontinued their fruit punch drink, which was pretty much the only non-water drink I would get from Wawa on any given chance. And it was a dice roll. Sometimes I would drink it and it would be real strong in cranberry. Other times I would drink it and be real strong more on like the orange flavor, because I guess it is just like we're combining a bunch of different fruit. I almost feel like it's like
I like that there isn't quality control.
Well, I don't even think it's a lack of quality control. I think it's what the hell is it? What is the candy that has like the mystery flavor that you can get every once in a while? Airhead. Like the mystery flavor Airhead is just kind of like the residue of like after they're done using the machine for multiple flavors.
That makes more sense, though.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, I wonder if they make orange juice, they make some cranberry juice, and they're just like, I don't know, just squeeze all that shit into a bottle and call it a day.
Maybe if there's a company like an Ocean Spray that does it, but there's just fruit punches that exist.
Yeah, Hawaiian punch and
I guess it's more of a I guess it's like a cran apple flavor.
I don't get cranberry from it at all. I don't know what it is. There's whatever that note is. It's like some shitty citrus.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
All right, well, listen, we're talking about a lot of drinks. We're not talking a lot about the movie that we watched.
Well,
so
I
just want to point out
something.
Say
about this movie besides the fact that it is a masterwork on how to get stuff done in 3 weeks at a villa that you rent in Italy.
Well, so I was going to ask you. So like, there's one kill that I enjoyed. more for the absurdity of like this girl gets stabbed with this violin knife.
I love
which
that.
Apparently she gets stabbed so hard that the blood spraying out of her is strong enough to blow up a light bulb.
Good. That was
Scott,
also something that I wrote about.
Yeah. But Scott, you did all the research, so tell us a little bit more about Parmigiana Horror that we're watching.
Yes, it's spicy. I have the vino for you. I was trying to say tea, but also I think it's the girl who gets stabbed. Let me pause here. We have not explained anything about this movie, so let me give the Cliff's Notes, if I may. That the plot is such that there is an award-winning rock band which is female fronted, so it's a woman singing, female guitarist, female drummer, or female bass player, and then a male drummer, whatever. So then they're trying to get a new hit, and that the song that we were talking about that sounds like Bon Jovi, their producer's like, it's garbage, as she's wearing a yellow plastic keyboard necktie. Did you guys catch that shit?
Yeah, I trust anybody who wears that. So
yeah. So, but she's like, this song sucks.
Screams music industry and not elementary school music teacher.
Yes, not
at all.
But so then the drummer does this back alley deal with Donald fucking Pleasance, Mr. Pickett, I believe his name was, who gives him this piece of parchment, which was Paganini's. Paganini was a famous, celebrated violinist.
Yeah.
And he and
so much so, by the way, Scott, that when I was trying to find this movie, because I knew that
we'll get to that. No, we'll get to the real
because
life.
if you just search that name, it brings up like a totally different movie.
Yeah. And I will explain that in a minute here.
Yeah.
Let me get through the
I thought it was a
plot,
made-up character until that moment.
No, it gets so much funnier when you realize that this movie is a mistake based on expectations about another movie. So, okay, the drummer meets Donald Pleasance in an abandoned, burnt out church or something like that, and he gives him this parchment paper, which is Paganini's last song that they can use because it was never recorded, and so they're going to make this song based on it. And so they rent a villa, and they are shooting music videos, and then things start to go badly. I forgot to mention at the very beginning, the first kill of this movie is a little girl is watching her mom take a bath, which is what you do, obviously, if you're Italian. And then she dunks...
Up until, 25, 30 years old, you watch your mom take a bath.
Yeah, just, let me watch you bathe, mama. Which is weird because that's the exact same thing I say to my wife.
In Italian? Or dubbed Italian?
It's actually just ADR'd. She's like, I can't even see your mouth moving.
You hit a button when you walk in the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. So they go to this villa, and they are doing music videos, and so the girl like electrocutes her mom, but she somehow has this Paganini doll that she dunks in the water, and then she dumps the hairdryer into the bath, and her mom gets electrocuted. So then you fast forward to the shit that's happening in the movie. So they're shooting music videos that are supposed to be gory because they've got this guy who was to direct the videos who is supposed to be like the king of horror, which to me feels like the writer director of this was like, this is me. I'm putting myself I'm injecting myself into the story. Which is fucking bold of you to say. So then people start getting knocked off, and it turns out that Donald Pleasance is kind of a Satan character and the Sylvia who owns the house is the girl from the beginning who killed her mom. She's damned to eternity to live at that villa, and people come to the villa, rent it or buy it or whatever, and since they're all sinners, their souls get damned to live in other dimensions around the house that also circle the house, because originally this was supposed to have a ton of sci-fi elements, and there was going to be a whole sequence about alternate dimensions, other planets, and they're all going to and hell, and how the like I guess that the sonata or whatever Paganini's song was had something to do with space travel, which is nuts.
I think the implication is also not just like something as simple as like, oh, everybody who shows up at the house is a sinner and thus, but it's kind of implied that it's almost like a Faustian type thing. Like, you make a deal with Donald Pleasance and like, let's get this out in the air. The very first time Donald Pleasance shows up, there is not a question that this is a deal with the devil type situation that's happening. Like,
how'd you know, Matt?
Yeah, I don't know. For starters, the seemingly blood-sealed parchment seemed to tip me off.
That's just red wax. Yeah. What's the anything else that might have popped out at you, Matt? On this
the part where he throws all the money off of the basilica, which I was watching that scene and I was laughing to myself because I'm thinking, okay, they shot this in 87 or 88. Some people were at the bottom of that cathedral and there's paper money raining down and they're like, Lira! Or whatever. And, and then they see that it's fake and they're like, ah, damn you, Donald Pleasance.
Yeah.
Did he do this maybe right before or right after Halloween 4? Because it took him 3 days to do his scenes for this. He was supposed to do it over the course of a week. He did it in
I like
3
to
days.
imagine that it was
during. Yeah, he just took like a
Halloween.
He took like a 2 or 3 day vacation,
Yeah.
flew out to Italy, did his shit, and got back.
I was thinking that it was the 666 briefcase lock.
Oh, that was
that
so
also.
good.
Yeah, that
I
also.
want that as a sound clip. That needs to be. I mean, like, sadly, this movie suffers from what most heavy metal horror suffers from, which is really bad music that they thought was going to be a hit. And I will get into
play through.
Oh yeah, they really. The songs choose scenery more than Donald Pleasance.
Yeah.
Well, they also put a lot more money into the music than they put into Donald Pleasance. But the thing is that like they made so many mistakes about the way that they were gonna run this production. So I guess that originally it was written to be much more expansive, way more sci-fi horror elements instead of just kind of like people running around this villa. They lost funding originally. So the idea of this movie was that it was going to be the companion piece to the Klaus Kinski vehicle Paganini, which was supposed to be huge, and it was a fucking bomb. But they were already basically in it to do this, and they lost money for this. They were going to have all these in-camera effects, special effects. They couldn't do them because the producers were like, just no. And so that's why the kills suck. That's why this movie makes even less sense than most Italian horror, and it's why like no one wanted to admit that they were part of this filming. It's so funny. Everybody hated the filming. Like,
you know what's funny though? That's not even the film. Like, so I was like, I saw that you had said the movie was available on Tubi. I personally find that searching for a movie on Tubi, on the Tubi app, is way more stressful than just searching for it on my like Apple TV and then clicking the button that says watch on Tubi. Because like, I don't know what it is. The Tubi search thing is crazy on my television. So
that's really weird because, you know, I've been telling you guys for years. I mean, even Kyle, because I think that we're rounding up on 2 years with you now, aren't we?
Yeah.
But
true.
I've been telling Matt for as long as Tubi has been in the picture, which has been probably at least 5 or 6 years, that I put the links in Trello.
Yeah, but then if I click it, that doesn't help me watch it on my television set. I have to still search it on there. So I searched the word Paganini.
You got it right.
And what it brought up was a film from like, I want to say it was like 2012 called The Devil's Violinist. That was a recent biography about him.
So Tubi is just picking out tags quicker than actual titles.
And I stared at it and I'm like, there's no way. It was an hour and 55 minutes. I'm like, there is zero chance that this is an alternate title for this movie that Scott picked. So then I added the word horror, and then it like brought up the movie that I was looking for. But I was like, what?
I would have laughed so hard if you would have watched.
So what's
the
Paganini's
2006 one.
deal then? Why is this okay? So the
I didn't explain to anybody that the whole point of Paganini in this is that he murdered his wife in the villa, damning his soul there, but he used her intestines as violin strings because of something to the effect of that the sound of her screams had basically like really great like resonance, which I don't know, man, that's just ridiculous. But
what?
Yeah, I don't know. I also have I wrote down, I thought, I don't even know where I am in my notes at this point. He used the intestines of his dead bride for his violin strings, but just one of the many concerning stories about the great Italian violinist. And I'm thinking, like,
well, yeah,
concerning isn't the adjective I would have
an
used.
isolated incident. It sounds like that dude did some other shit that was probably pretty bad.
You don't walk and then run, you know.
Yeah,
when it comes
but is that like an actual legitimate story, or is that like an urban legend story on the same level as like Robert Johnson sold his soul to the devil to be the greatest blues guitarist of all time?
Right. It might be an Italian version of that.
Yeah.
Niccolo Paganini was born in Genoa, Italy in 1782, and he died in 1840 in Nice, France. So let's look at his Wikipedia real quick, because I did all this research on the movie and not the person.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through it, and I feel like if this was true, it would be its own tag somewhere in Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Or at least they would mention it in the movie.
He had syphilis.
Well, what person in the 1800s didn't really?
Yeah.
I would love to remake the music video that they shot in this. Just by the way,
I have a note about that music video, and it says the devil has an equally nice rack as well as goatee, because whoever was wearing that mask was amazing. It was like what I want from a Baphomet. Because Baphomet is both male and female. I want great boobs and a great goatee. Just seduce me, Satan.
Just get it on.
Yeah. But I also loved how they went from in camera to out of camera, showing the in camera and back and forth. It was actually really fun. That was probably my favorite part of the movie.
Yes. Yeah,
and like there's a guy with a smoke machine on the side, and I'm like, that's exactly how they did
it. Dude, and we were on I watched that, and I had just come back from a film shoot this weekend, and we had a guy on the hazer, like, and it was the same thing. It was just like I'm watching on the monitor, and here comes Connor with the haze coming in to do the
Is
set
it really
before we roll
called the hazer?
We were calling it the hazer,
because that's an amazing term if that's what it's called.
So So I searched Paganini murdered wife, and what it brought me to was violinist.com. And it says, is it true that Paganini killed a woman, imprisoned her soul in a violin, and used part of her intestines as an eternal source of gut for his strings? And
that's the most clickbaity title that violinist.com could
answer
have come up with.
And
no.
And the answers range from absolutely. Someone said absolutely he did those things, but don't worry, it was after he sold his soul to the devil. So by this point, none of it mattered anymore. To other people,
it might have mattered to his wife.
No, she was dead.
Oh,
then someone says, my favorite response is just, on the off chance that this is a serious question, no, he did not. Ironically, her name is Mary Gore, which I love.
Oh my God, for real?
That's an expert. An expert in it.
This is so much better as a talking piece than an actual film watching experience.
This is the second time I've watched it, and
here we go.
The second time was bad.
Mary Gore chimed in again, and I think she nailed it here. She goes, they say that this is widely believed, but they never say by whom. The fact is that Paganini was a brilliant marketer and would never go out of his way to discourage wild 19th century rumors about him that would lead to increased ticket sales. That's all.
No press is bad press.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the Uncle Lloydie of
exactly. 100%.
Full fucking circle.
Music.
But do we have anything else that we want to mention with Paganini Horror?
I just want to mention that at the 53-minute mark, I think Kate goes, "Sylvia, this house is haunted," and I was like, "It took you 53 minutes to figure that out?"
Yeah,
I mean, it's so much shit.
They
happens
got in that house quick too. Like that was
Yeah,
like immediate.
like
They
15
were like,
minutes
"What? We sound like Bon Jovi? Let us go record something else."
Yeah, let's hit some.
and
let's
also,
make some hits.
if this would have had more kills, like the one woman who came back from an alternate timeline, covered in the fungus that
was good.
growing on trees.
Yeah, that was
which was
solid.
basically the Last of Us prequel that we all wanted. That was such a fun scene, and I feel like that was the glimpse of what the original concept would have given us. And that would have definitely cemented it as an Italian horror movie that I'd be like, oh, you like Italian horror or you like splatter? Like, have you ever heard of Paganini Horror? If you haven't,
this
watch
is definitely like a not recommend to anyone.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, look, there's gonna be listeners who watch it for sure, but I'm just saying, if someone came up to me and said, "Hey, have you watched any good horror movie that you think I should watch?" The answer is currently still just no. This didn't shift anything.
I went back and I looked at Cozy's filmography, and I mean, he did do Contamination about 10 years
right before
earlier.
that. Or 7 years earlier.
Yeah,
and he wanted to go back to Argentina?
I was reading that too. Yeah, he wanted to use the same like locations and everything.
Yeah,
and
that was more sci-fi and alien and like boily grossness that he wanted to do.
But that was his thing. He really wanted to do sci-fi.
But it got deemed as a video nasty. So like anything after that, immediately after that, 3 years after that. So not immediately, but 3 years after that, he ended up doing more like fantasy stuff: Hercules, Adventure of Hercules, Sinbad and the Seven Seas, before going back to horror. Which then, like, I mean, after this, not a whole hell of a lot until recently. Actually, he did a movie, but a frequent collaborator with like Argento and which is always interesting.
Oh, so one thing I did want to say, the last note that I have outside of the movie is that I thought this was so funny. So Valenti was, I think, the original writer, or he was the co-writer or producer, I can't remember, but he did not like Cozy's script, which led to Cozy continuously changing it until Valenti left the film industry entirely.
Whoa.
Which is amazing. Can you imagine being so pissed off with Cozy that you rage quit your entire job?
Yeah, you're just like, I'm over it.
Hello everyone, we're Superhero Stuff You Should Know, and if you think you know about superheroes and comic books, think again.
We got romance. We got action.
Romance?
We got comedy. We got everything you need, man. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know for all your superhero needs.
I don't know about this romance. What part are you talking about?
We've got all kinds of sketches, and then deep dives on top of that. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
All right, so come on down to... Wait, why did I say come on down? To Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Well, Scott, after you've made people watch this, what are you going to have them watch after?
I'm so sorry, but I got to go with the obvious. Trick or Treat.
All right. Actually, I'm
Trick or Treat 87, right?
Yeah. Look, I'm going to be honest. I think that there's a lot of obvious answers to this. Like, every time I thought of more. But Kyle, what are you thinking for this?
Oh, Slumber Party Massacre 2.
Oh, there you go.
There's enough of like, as soon as that woman came back from the alternate universe, I was like, oh, that's the boil on the face, and the pimple on the face, and we got some rock and roll.
Way better.
Well, then I get
Way
to
better than
mention
Trick or
both
Treat.
ones. If I'm going to go with one that I've mentioned a million times before, it's Rock and Roll Nightmare. Like, it's very similar vibe.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to mention one that I actually think, oh, this is the exact same plot as a much better film from a couple years ago, Studio 666 with the Foo Fighters.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's the exact same plot.
You could pair this with a lot. Actually.
Yeah.
All
Here's
things
my hot
considered.
take, though, is I liked Paganini Horror more than Studio 666.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I think
I did not enjoy Studio 666 at all.
Yeah.
I had fun with it, but again, it's difficult to fairly judge a movie when it's like, hey, here's a free thing for you to watch to talk to the director of, and you're like, all right, cool.
Yeah. That immediately endears it to you.
All right. Scott, what have you been watching, my dude?
Well, I mean, this is coming out pretty far removed from this, but Mandalorian season 3 is just the fucking best. I kept my expectations low, but it's just so good. And the best thing that happened in the show happened in like episode 1, which is when Grogu sees an Illyrian or Auxiliarian or whatever they're called, the little Babu Freak characters. They're the same kind of character, the same alien or the same life form, and he immediately goes to hug it, and the character goes, "No squeezy," and now I say that to Megan daily, while I squeeze the shit out of her, and so I love Mandalorian season 3. It's so good. It's so enjoyable. Some of the celebrity cameos were fantastic. The ones that people talked about were overshadowed by the one that really did it for me, and I'm not going to say anything because
people are taking their time.
People are still watching it. You know, like it's so good.
That's respectable.
It's just so entertaining. So that's me.
There you go, Kyle.
I watched a horror movie night family favorite for the first time, and that was Amityville It's About Time.
Yeah, you did.
And my goodness, if that's not the most fun, how do I put this?
It's a bad franchise.
It might be the most fun sequel to a second tier horror franchise that I've seen.
Yeah.
Like like if I were to say like sort of like the slasher franchises are the top tier, and not because they're slasher, but just because like on a pop culture level or on like a knowledge level, like that's what people know, like as a franchise horror. But then as horror fans, we know, franchises that are not slasher, they're slasher adjacent or whatever. That was outrageous fun, and that's coming from somebody who really digs Evil Escapes because of its TV moviness and like because of but when you actually get to lean into something that is like that is more of an R-rated gory horror that is also a possession of a person and not a house, and it was so much fun, and I'm so glad that I got to watch it.
Yay!
Carly and I were just a lot of times, like, we'll be playing like a board game and just throw something dumb on just to get it off of the shelf or off of the watch list, right? Like something that we're not gonna, something that we don't pay attention to.
Was that a Blue that you were watching?
What was that?
Was that a Blu-ray?
Yeah.
Yeah, Vinegar Syndrome.
I did. I picked up Vinegar Syndrome. Did a $10 like movie like week a few months ago, I guess. And I picked it up because you guys had talked about it so often, and it was on the trading card and all this stuff. But I actually never heard why it was so fun for you guys. Like I just knew that it was I just knew that it was in the.
It was a classic for us. Yeah.
Lexicon, right? And I understand why now. I understand why. It was so much fun.
Such a good fucking movie.
And I got two quick ones. First one, I mean, half the world has already fucking seen it, maybe even seen it twice. The Super Mario Brothers movie is super fun. Like
I haven't seen it. I'm half of the world.
Yeah, but it is
so
just.
You recommend?
I mean, if you like video games from the 80s, you'll just be like, man, they got every piece of nostalgic Easter egg. So here's the closest thing to a spoiler I'll give you that is what sealed the movie for me in the first minute. The way they establish the Mario Brothers in the movie is that you're watching a commercial for their plumbing business, and it's the theme song from the 80s Super Mario Brothers Super Show is the plumbing commercial.
Yes.
So it's like they just leaned into every aspect of it. It's great. So since most of the world has seen that movie and it's made like something like $90 million in like a couple weeks, Peacock. If you have Peacock, there's a show that I had been hearing good things about. And it was a combination of two people who I respect as artists. It was the combination of Natasha Lyonne, who I love as an actress and a producer, and Rain Johnson, who I think is a great director. And that show is Poker Face. Yeah. It's just fun. It's fun. Shut your brain off. It's basically like if Knives Out was a TV show, but instead of Daniel Craig, you had Natasha Lyonne's character from Russian Doll. as the person. The very short pitch is that she is a human lie detector. She can always tell if someone's lying to her, no matter what. And she's on the run from the mob. And every week, it's just a mystery of the week, where she's just like in some small town. But here's the twist that I love about it. Is that Natasha Lyonne's character never comes up until 20 minutes into the episode. And the first 20 minutes, you fully watch the crime happen and you know who committed the crime, why they committed the crime, and how they committed the crime. And then the fun of the show is like, will Natasha Lyonne ask the right questions for her to solve the mystery that you already know the answer to? So I don't know why that works as well as it does, but I'm like, it's fun. 10 episodes, they're all like 45 minutes. I knocked it out in a single weekend because I was just like, I'm just going to... The intention was stay inside and edit, and I got very little editing done because I was like, no, I need to know how these episodes go. so that's my big recommend. Now, not as much of a big recommend is Paganini Horror, Parmigiani Horror from 1989 as picked by Scott. But you know what? We all named a lot of good double features. Next week's double feature, also a good option in a lot of ways. So
you're not wrong.
So stay tuned to find out what that is.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.